Alright, ladies and gentle people and everybody in between. Today, I have found a severely mentally ill person to explain the entirety of Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts 1 only.
Hi.
2. He's crazy enough to have agreed to this. Today we're going to go over the entirety of Kingdom Hearts 1. What do you know about Kingdom Hearts? Let's start off with that before we get into it.
Basically not that much. I know it's there's a dude with who's either a very small dude who has a normal key, or he's a normal dude who has a very large key. And I don't want to know how big that door has to be. And it has something to do with Disney.
Right, so it's a mix between Final Fantasy and Disney. You know Disney pretty well. I assume you don't know too much about Final Fantasy?
Not at all.
So this is going to be an interesting ride for you. Luckily, most of the integrations are Disney related and not so much Final Fantasy related. The themes and stuff like that really are a bit of both. And there's a bunch of original characters, mainly the main characters and stuff. So I think it's about time we get into Kingdom Hearts 1. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll still be sane.
I promise nothing.
Probably not.
No.
So we start out the game by running on a bunch of these stained glass windows that you see here with like Snow White on it. We go through a bunch of different ones with a lot of Disney princesses, and they are not entirely picked at random. This is just the gameplay tutorial. You learn how to walk around, you learn how to turn the camera, you learn how to swing your, at this point still a sword actually. We fight some of these black monster looking and boots.
That looks I think that's gonna be a theme, but that looks kind of nasty for something Disney related.
That is indeed gonna be a theme, and it's going to get progressively worse as you get through the games. This is honestly one of the cuter ones.
Alrighty then.
I don't have a lot of pictures of these kind of monsters, but we'll probably get through some of them at some point. We wake up on the beach with our main character, Sora, the dude on the left, talking to his friends, Kairi and Riku. Kairi is the personality-lacking girl on the right, and then we have Riku over here on the right being just a angsty teenage protagonist.
I mean, it's Disney, so it's early Disney, so females can have too much personality.
Very true, and in true Disney fashion, these people do not have parents.
Also, and I thought I had giant feet, but they you.
No, also funny, Sora specifically has giant fucking feet. Progressively throughout the games, they do get smaller in proportion, up until the newest trailers for Kingdom Hearts 4. He just has normal feet. It's taken 20 years, but now he has normal fucking feet.
Wait, hold up. There's a whole bunch of these games, and there's now a trailer for number 4.
Oh,
is this Star Wars counting?
Oh no, this is much worse than Star Wars counting.
Oh goddamn.
No, Kingdom Hearts 3 is the 13th game.
Sure.
We'll get to that with Kingdom Hearts 2, because Kingdom Hearts 2 is the 3rd game.
Anyway.
So, in this world, there's a star-shaped fruit called a Palpu fruit, which will ensure you'll always be together as a part of each other's destiny.
Right.
Because
that's what fruit does.
It's not very subtle, but it's symbolically it comes back quite a lot. That's why I'm showing it to you.
Quite a gangster necklace, by the way.
Yeah, no. The designer for these games and the director, Tetsuya Nomura, has a big fucking hard-on for chains.
Nice.
You will see that in a lot of character designs, which I should mention, by the way. The director for this game has had a career of character designer before this. He's been a lot of lead character designer on Final Fantasy games. And then he got a directing role in this series. And you can tell he hasn't really, like, how do I phrase this? Learned how to write well.
I mean, that's a side thing. Who cares?
You'll find that the plot is absolutely fucking insane. The characters actually are written decently well as we go through. We're trying to get off this island that we're on. We're on this island, and these kids are like, we want to get off this place. This is boring. It's a tropical paradise, but they want more, right? As you do. So their genius idea is we're going to build a raft and just sail it into the ocean.
Because that always works.
That's a good way to die. As such, we go on a bunch of fetch quests, collecting wood and a sail and like drinking water, some fish to eat, that kind of stuff. It's really fucking boring. Anyway, meanwhile at Disney Castle, this is Disney Castle,
which is about to blow over.
Yeah. The architecture is not great, I'll give you that. We see the High Mage of Disney Castle, and that's Donald fucking Duck.
I would think that would be Mickey, but
no.
I mean, he would probably be CEO. So
Mickey is the king of Disney Castle, and that's who
Fair
Donald
enough.
is going to see the king. But he finds a empty throne, as you can see a little bit on the right there, and Pluto, the king's dog, with a letter. And when Donald reads that letter, he loses his fucking shit. So, who do you think he goes to see?
I mean, I guess Mickey has been abducted or something. So, Goofy?
You are entirely right. He goes to the Crown Guard. Goofy the dog.
Yeah, sure. That's a fitting role for him.
Which, honestly, Goofy is the only intelligent person in this whole series.
Well, that says a lot.
Yeah. Everybody else is a fucking idiot. Anyway, after they talk about, hey, the king's disappeared, he's left this letter for us, this shit's real, who else walks in but Queen Minnie? She goes, okay, what's this all about? Let me read that letter. And
Guess I'm queen now.
well, she was already queen, but now she's in charge.
Yeah, sure. That's what I meant.
And it turns out that Donald and Goofy have to go find the Keyblade, because stars in the night sky have been disappearing, which means that the worlds are falling to darkness. A little bit of an explanation there. Stars in the Kingdom Hearts universe aren't just like balls of gas that are burning millions of miles away. Or light years
Nuclear
away.
fusion. They're not burning, there's nuclear fusion.
Sure. Stars in the Kingdom Hearts universe are other worlds, and the light we see is the light from the people and the world in general.
Alright.
Meaning that if a star goes out, that means that world has lost its light and is fallen to darkness and is like breaking apart. So Mickey thinks, you know what, I'm just gonna fuck off, just leave a letter and I'll deal with this on my own. Also,
Like you do.
Jiminy
As you
Cricket
do
is
as a
here.
king.
He is a really bad king, also a really bad person, which is actually kind of fitting because it's Disney.
Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, Jiminy Cricket is here, which in essence explains why you have a journal throughout the game, which like has a bestiary of all the monsters that you've come across and all the locations that you've been. That's his reason for being here. Later on, this actually becomes plot relevant.
So he's like your Pokedex.
Pretty much, yeah.
Alright.
He keeps a journal of everything that's going on, and that's his only reason for being there. Also, it's kind of funny to have a little dude around. You never see him outside of like 3 cutscenes, so people forget that he exists in this game. But he very much is here from the stars.
I mean, he's easy to be overlooked.
Yeah.
Literally.
And he doesn't become anywhere near relevant until like, well, in the next game and then like 6 games down the line. Back on Destiny Islands, we run into this little dude, which is not very little, while we're collecting mushrooms in a cave on the island. And he's being very cryptic and generally just weird, saying things like, this world has been connected and tied to the darkness. And Sora's like, what the fuck are you on about, mate? And then he just fucks off. As you do.
Yeah, sure. Also, again, nightmare fuel.
Yeah, definitely. Because that night, we see a massive storm blowing over the islands. And apparently this is what massive storms look like.
I mean, that looks more like a black hole, but sure.
Yeah. It actually kind of might be. It's more like a wormhole, maybe. But it's close enough.
I mean, same, but different.
Anyway, Sora sees this from his bedroom window on the main island, away from Destiny Islands, meaning that they have boats that they row onto the island, where they build a raft so that they can sail away.
Right. Sure. Right.
The stupid kids, okay? They're not very bright. So naturally, if there's a storm going on, the safest thing to do is getting in your little rowboat and rowing out to the island next over, right?
Row your boat going all to die. Yeah, sure.
But this is where we run into the little dudes from the tutorial again. But this time, we don't have a magic sword, we only have a wooden sword, and we can't damage them. Which is a bit of a problem, because they're mean motherfuckers.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do with a wooden sword?
Well, not a lot, and I actually
bonk them on the head.
I quite appreciate the fact that you can swing at them, but it does no damage. It doesn't even register as a hit; it just phases right through them.
All right.
So after you decide, you know what, I'm just going to run around the island a bit because this isn't working, you run into Riku, and Riku is kind of being surrounded by this dark, foggy, weird stuff. And he's not really acting like himself. He's like, you know, this raft idea kind of sucks, which, granted, it does.
Yeah.
But his solution is, let's use the darkness.
He's coming to the dark side.
And this is a decent moment to step back real quick and talk about light and darkness in the Kingdom Hearts universe. Because you might think these are metaphorical things.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. They are tangible forces in the universe. Like, we have gravity, electromagnetic force, that kind of stuff. The Kingdom Hearts universe, light and darkness are tangible, actual things.
As in, can be harnessed to do whatever.
Pretty much. Obviously, there's a difference between them. Light is more related to like good things and friendship and having bonds with people, and darkness is pretty much like, I'm an asshole and I just want to be strong.
Very original.
Very original. It's nobody's ever done it before. But the big difference is that we're in another series which uses light and dark in a very similar way is Star Wars with the dark side of the Force.
Mm-hmm.
There, the light and the dark side are still both the Force, and light and dark are more metaphorical. These are actually two separate forces in the universe.
No, it makes it kind of more interesting.
It also makes it hella confusing later on. So, Sora isn't a huge fan of this whole darkness stuff. Sounds kind of sketchy to him. And Riku just yeets himself into a dark portal and the screen fades to black. We see a little flash of light, and then we see Sora holding a giant fucking key.
Hey, there it is.
The Keyblade.
With a Mickey keychain.
Yeah. I'm glad you noticed that, actually. Not the fact that it's specifically a Mickey keychain, because that isn't necessarily very relevant, but throughout these screenshots you might see him holding different keyblades. It's relevant here to note that these are not separate keyblades. When you put a different keychain on this thing, it changes form and abilities and stuff like that, but it's still the same keyblade, because as of right now there's only one of these things.
So there's... Wait, hold up. So... putting on a different keychain changes the whole goddamn thing, but it's still the same thing.
yeah, it's kind of like putting on different clothes, right? It's still the same thing inside. It's still the one Keyblade, but it just looks different, and it like gets a little bit more powerful through that.
Right. All right. Makes sense.
No, it doesn't. Going back to the cave where we found the weird-ass burlap sack-looking dude, we run into Kairi, who looks high as fuck.
She does.
Which is fair, because it's the middle of the night, so she might have just, like, been doing some stuff at home before she came. You never know.
I mean, her pupils are pretty dilated, so, I mean, I guess she's not that high, just tired.
She's also in a dark cave.
That's a fair point.
So we see this door behind her in the middle of a cave, because that's logical, and it swings open, and through that a bunch of dark cloud passes through, and we get blown out of the cave. But before that happens, this is the dark cloud that comes out of the door, we see Kairi kind of like phase through Sora.
Right.
This is relevant. Remember this.
All right.
So then we go back to the island and we see it's kind of fucked up. Like, really. really fucked up. And that's it for Destiny Island. That's our tutorial world done.
So the whole raft thing is just, forget it. We've blown off the island and let's go.
Yeah, so now we're in a different world because of the dark ball in the sky. We got sucked into it, and now we're in Traverse Town. The raft probably, like, sank in the storm or something.
Good.
Never brought up again. But we have made it to a new world, which was the point of the raft.
I mean, fair enough. We've gotten somewhere.
Which begs the question, how did they think they were going to get to a different world through sailing on a raft? But doesn't matter. We've made it somewhere. The actual game is starting now. Fantastic. This is actually only explained much later in the series, I believe. But I feel it's relevant to drop here for a little bit of context. Because Traverse Town is a special kind of world. As I mentioned before, there's a bunch of stars going out in the night sky. And that's when worlds fall to darkness. But when a world falls to darkness, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody in that world dies. Sometimes people have strong wills or just power through the darkness. And when their world disappears, they end up in Traverse Town.
That would make Traverse Town like the strongest army in the universe, I guess?
More or less, but there's not a lot of people here.
Alright.
Among the people that are here, we have Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Donald Duck's fucking nephews.
Those fuckers, yeah.
But apparently they were strong enough to get here. I don't know how, I don't know why. It happens. Also, their world hasn't fallen to darkness because they're from Disney Castle. Why are they here? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows, nobody cares.
Traverse Town kind of serves a similar purpose as something like Sakaar in Thor Ragnarok, right? If you're lost, you don't have anywhere to be, you end up there. It's kind of like the people garbage can of the universe.
Right, but then the garbage can for very strong-willed people?
Yeah, because most people, when their world falls to darkness, they just fucking die.
Yeah.
And by insane luck, this is also where Donald and Goofy start their mission looking for the Keyblade.
Of course.
Of all the worlds they could have gone to, they went to the right one. Amazing. But as lucky as they are to pick the right world, they have a real good habit of getting very close to Sora and then walking the other way.
Just some Laurel and Harley shit, like running around each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what the entirety of this world is. But Sora, before he meets Donald and Goofy, he runs into Leon from Final Fantasy VIII, which in the Final Fantasy game is called Squall, but here he's called Leon. He's got two names, and I don't know why, because I haven't played Final Fantasy VIII.
Right, but he does look mean as fuck.
Also, his sword is also a gun.
And the sword is dull as hell.
Well, that's the downside there is the sharp bar.
Oh, right, check.
But do you really need a sword if you have a gun?
I mean, do you need a gun if you have a sword?
Fair enough. That doesn't stop there, because while that's all happening, you fight Leon and he beats your ass. There's also a version of this fight where you beat him and then you still lose in the cutscene. Which is just so insulting. But while you're meeting up with him, Donald and Goofy, apparently I put these slides wrongly around. Riku ends up somewhere. We don't know where, but Riku is alive and he's confused as to where he is.
And seems to be underwater?
No, that's a waterfall behind him.
Oh, right.
But there's a lot of water where he is, that is right, but he's not quite underwater. While all that's happening, Donald and Goofy run into some Final Fantasy VII characters. Which is then followed by a bunch of exposition. So let's get into that, shall we?
Because that's great storytelling.
Yep. So, Final Fantasy VII lady, doesn't matter. The Keyblade. It's time to explain a bit about what this is, don't you think? We've been playing for like an hour.
Right, I want to know where the big-ass door is.
There actually is a big-ass door. But that doesn't come into play for, like, a while.
Yeah, I guess we'll get to that.
It's within this game. So, we'll get to that, but it's going to take a while. So we learned that the Keyblade is a one-of-a-kind special weapon that can slay the Heartless. The Heartless are those monsters that we've been fighting with the Keyblade. And it can unlock any keyhole in the world, in any world. It can unlock any keyhole. So if you have like a door that's locked, it can unlock it. If you've got a chest that's locked, it can unlock it.
Useful.
It's a universal key, which is never used to its full extent, and it annoys me so much that there's literally locked doors in some games that you can't get through until you do something else somewhere else in the world.
Right.
Matter of fact, this game has that.
So it's a universal useless key.
It's a universal key unless the game designers don't want it to be.
Right.
And it chooses its own master, kind of like Harry Potter ones, right? The one chooses the wizard. That's what the Keyblade does too. It decides, you know what? You can wield me. You're like pure of hearts.
Right. It's either the Harry Potter thingamajig or the Green Lantern ring, or well, yeah.
It's actually pretty close to how Mjolnir works, as in, I don't know if I have a screenshot of this. Yeah, see, Leon tries to pick it up, and the Keyblade is like, nah, I'm gonna chill with Sora. It just teleports into Sora's hand when somebody else tries to pick it up.
It doesn't even, like Mjolnir, fly around, it just teleports the fuck out.
Yeah, no, like Mjolnir you can't even pick up. You can pick up the Keyblade or take it from somebody that has one. But it'll just teleport back into the hand.
Very loyal key.
Yeah. So once the Keyblade chooses you, you're good to go. You're a good boy.
Also, is that his zipper down the middle? What the hell kind of suggestive shit is that?
I think this is just an unfortunate. Well, actually, now that you mention it, yes, I think it is. It's not a onesie. It's two different pieces of clothes, I believe. But the zipper does go all the way down, like below his balls.
Right. Very convenient.
Yeah. That's what? I would love to tell you that there's a canonical explanation for that. But he's 14, so there's not.
Then that's not get into that.
Yeah. Now that we've talked about the Heartless, we also get a little bit of explanation as to what these dark-looking monsters actually are, because we need a reason for why they exist.
Wait, let me guess. They're the lost souls of all the people who've died in darkness.
You're actually pretty close.
I knew it.
The Heartless are created when a person's heart is taken over by darkness, which is different from them being on a world that falls to darkness.
Right. Yeah.
Because if they're on a world that falls to darkness, they get like transported to the dark world, the realm of darkness, where they presumably eventually just fucking die. When their own heart gets overcome by darkness, they turn into a heartless.
Yeah, so if they choose the darkness, they become heartless, and if they just die, then they just fuck off.
Pretty much, yeah. Or when they get killed by a heartless.
Then you also become a heartless, or...
Yeah.
Right.
That's more or less the rules here. You'll quickly find that the rules in Kingdom Hearts are more suggestions than rules. But for now, that's how heartless are created. If you are too deep into darkness, your heart can't handle it, it collapses in and of itself, and you become a heartless. If a heartless takes your heart, then you also become a heartless. Which I will preface this now, because otherwise you'll be on a false assumption. A heartless is not a creature without a heart.
Sure, because language is just like that.
We'll get to this at the very end of today's session. There are creatures without a heart, and they have a different name from heartless, and it's really fucking stupid. But we'll get to that.
Alrighty.
Literally over in the next room, we have Donald and Goofy getting their exposition dump, because we haven't had enough of that yet. And we learn about a researcher of the heart, a researcher named Ansem. He wrote his PhD research paper, and he's a bit clumsy, because it's really useful research, learning how the heart works and what light and darkness do within the heart. He wrote his whole thesis about it, but then the pages got kind of like scattered across many different worlds.
I guess is Dark Age his homework?
Yeah, that's his Darkness Age is homework.
Right, sure.
And this research includes information on how the heartless are created, how they can be stopped, and how they work and how they are born from people's hearts. So it's very important that we recollect these pieces of information for fighting the heartless.
But because this dude himself is just dead or really forgetful?
Presumably he's dead at this point.
Alright.
Is all I'm going to say. It should be noted, by the way, I've been talking about hearts, and I assume you've picked up on this, but I'm not talking about the organ that pumps blood around your body.
No, I guess that more like an analogy for the soul or whatever.
Yes. Except souls are a different entity within Kingdom Hearts. Souls also exist.
Because of fucking course it is. Sure.
But what we think of as a soul is what the heart is in Kingdom Hearts. The soul is more of like the life energy itself. But hearts are kind of like the personality of a person.
Right.
It holds your emotions, the tangible forces of light and darkness, and can also hold memories.
So your brain?
Kind of, but it can also hold memories that you're not actively aware that are inside you.
Still the brain.
Pretty, yeah, more or less. We'll get to the nuance difference there, but it's kind of like the brain.
Right.
You're not too far off there. So after wandering around town a little bit, we finally run into Donald and Goofy in the most weird-ass way possible, because they literally fall on top of you.
Alright. At first point, this looked like they merged into one in some sort of trip, but yeah, I see it now.
Now, they get blasted off a roof where they are trying to fight Heartless, but of course they don't have a Keyblade, so they can't really fight them. So they get blasted off the roof, they literally land on top of Sora at the moment the boss fight starts. Very convenient.
Convenient.
And since you're looking for Riku and Kairi still, because they are somewhere, you don't know where, you need new friends. So you join Donald and Goofy, and they are your new best friends now.
Because you find a duck and dog land on top of you, and then they're your best friends. Sure.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah.
A huge benefit to this friendship, though, is that Donald and Goofy have a gummy ship. That's not a gummy ship, that's Maleficent.
Yeah.
They have a gummy ship, which is kind of like a spaceship that you can use to travel between the different worlds.
And you can eat it?
No.
But why is it?
Why it's called a gummy ship
Yeah.
is... We'll get to that.
Sure.
There's not a real good reason for it. It's just that the material is kind of like squishy.
All right.
And that's about everything there is to it. Anyway,
Because that's what you need in space.
Yeah. I should preface, I keep calling it space between the worlds. It's not actually space. You're traversing through darkness. The worlds are separated by darkness, not by like the vacuum of space.
Right.
So in theory, you could try to make it through there all by yourself without any aid, with any protection, but then you'll probably like real quick turn into a Heartless.
Right.
Or just die. It's never really specified.
I mean, that's also what happens in space, but I mean, you could try to go through space without a spacesuit, but you're probably gonna die.
Fair enough. That is very true. Anyway, we've been focusing a lot on this Kingdom Hearts and Anthem and Sora and Keyblade stuff, so it's time for a little bit of Disney again.
Yay!
Because this is a Maleficent, which we all know very, very well. And she's like the leader of the... I like to call it the Council of Disney Villains. We've got villains like Maleficent leading the bunch. We've got Captain Hook. We've got Jafar. Oogie Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas, just because Japan loves that movie, apparently.
I mean, it's a good movie.
It's an alright movie, and it's the best word in this game, by far. And then we've also got Hades. Did I already say that? I think that's mostly the cast that we're working with here, as far as Disney villains go. So, with all that out of the way, it's time for Disney. And you'll note that I will skip over a lot of the details in the Disney worlds, because mostly Disney is very self-contained. Sometimes there's plot-relevant things going on inside of a Disney world, but it's like one or two scenes, and then the rest is just a more or less a retelling of the Disney film that you're in.
Just you walking around in it.
Yeah, it's just the Disney film, but Sora, Donald, and Goofy are in the background.
Right.
First up being Wonderland.
Wow, that Maleficent was a pretty good render, but this is huge.
This is... Why would you model the eyes? You can just slap a flat texture on it.
Yeah, sure.
To be fair, Maleficent is a character that is reappearing in almost like every other world that you visit. You see her. We see this character for like 2 scenes up close.
Yeah, but this coming from a director whose main job before this was character design is kind of yikes.
Yeah, no, it's Kingdom Hearts 1 has a real problem with flat face. Sometimes in cutscenes, if you're not up close, the mouth and stuff like that aren't even modeled. They're just like lip flaps, 2 different sprites alternating.
I mean, that's also just hardware limitations of the time. So
partly, but then we go to Kingdom Hearts 2, which is still on the PlayStation 2, and they've greatly improved that. So it's partly hardware limitations. It's partly also the budget for this was just not particularly high.
Right.
Because pitching, hey, we've got this Final Fantasy, we're going to mix it with Disney. I can't imagine they imagined this would sell particularly well. In the end, it did. But I can understand that the producers were not too eager to drop a bunch of money on this.
I mean, it still amazes me that Disney put money into this at all.
Me too. It's quite insane, and at this point, Disney is making a lot out of this.
I mean, sure, at this point, but the hell did they know when with this first game?
They didn't, and this first game, you'll note at the end, it's one of the few games that has a satisfying conclusion at the end, which still leaves open something to follow up on. Where all the other games knew that there were going to be games after them, and as such, don't wrap up everything as well as in Kingdom Hearts 1.
Right, because, I mean, it's Disney, so we're gonna milk it until it's dry.
Exactly. Anyway, this is where we learn that we're not supposed to meddle in other worlds. We're not from here, so we probably should, like, not get all up in these people's business.
Get off my lawn.
And that's explained to Sora real quick, because we go into the trial with Alice in Alice in Wonderland. And Sora's like, we gotta help her. Donald and Goofy, I don't know about that. That's against the rules. And then we promptly ignore that and we meddle in the trial. Because we're going to go after gathering some evidence to prove that Alice is innocent. And we win. We win the trial, more or less. And then when she gets released, we see the cage she was being held in is now empty. She's gone. Missing. Bye-bye.
Oh, wait. Less yay.
She's no idea where she is. She just disappeared while we weren't looking. And
Like you do.
then we have a boss fight. Not against the Queen of Hearts, but against a totally random, just like weird Heartless design. Which I find weird, because you'd think Disney might just not be a fan of you wailing on their characters with a giant key.
I mean, that makes sense.
But in like 90% of the Disney worlds, that is exactly what the final boss of that world is.
Right,
So,
so
why the Queen of Hearts isn't the final boss fight here escapes me. I don't know. Would be a fun fight to have her like...
yeah, but after seeing that character design,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, wouldn't want to look at that for too long.
That's true. But after we defeat the unrelated Heartless that just happens to exist in this world, we see Sora's Keyblade is drawn to the keyhole in this mouth, in this dude's mouth.
Wait, a keyhole in the dude's mouth?
Yeah, it is. Well, it's clever, right? Because this is you can't really see it here very well, but this is the door with the doorknob that talks in Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, right, yeah.
And the keyhole is in his mouth, and Sora's key is drawn to it.
Makes sense.
So it locks that keyhole when it gets near it. And this is something that...
At that point, he shuts the fuck up?
No, because this is not actually like the keyhole to this door. Which is, yes, this is clever, but it also makes it a little confusing for anybody just coming into this. Because this is something that we'll have to do in every world that we visit. Every world has a keyhole. And when we lock that, it prevents the Heartless from overtaking that world.
Alright.
Because, and bear with me here, worlds also have hearts.
Right.
And when you lock the keyhole, you seal off the heart of the world, so the Heartless can't get and corrupt the heart of the world itself. They can still fuck around and mess with people, but they can't destroy the world as a whole.
So you can't have the starlight fading out kind of stuff.
Exactly. They can still massacre the entire population, but the world itself will be fine.
Sure.
And that's all we care about in the end, right?
I mean, who cares about the little guy?
Nobody. Speaking of little guys, we go back to Traverse Town, and Merlin exists.
Alright, sure, yeah.
That's all I have to say about this. Moving on to Olympus Colosseum.
Wait, hold up. He does have an epic beard.
Merlin?
I mean, that combination hat and beard, that's pretty good.
It's almost symmetrical.
Yeah, almost.
We'll get to a proper bearded wizard in Kingdom Hearts 2. But Merlin is a pretty good stand-in for now.
Right.
Anyway, Olympus Colosseum. Nothing relevant happens here, but I figured it's a fun world, so let's get through it real quick. We get turned away from the tournament that's being held. That's what this world is. It's just a bunch of tournaments throughout the game. And because Hades is being a mean motherfucker, he's like, we can actually like manipulate Sora here a little bit, and here's a free pass. So Hades gets us into the games, the tournament, right. Which is not suspect at all.
I mean, being a mean motherfucker is kind of his thing.
Okay, but put yourself in Sora's shoes, right? You have just been turned away by the organizer of this event. You get approached by a tall blue dude that is literally on fire, giving you a free pass in.
I mean,
doesn't question it at all.
I guess he never learned not to take candy from strangers.
That's pretty much the vibe I'm getting here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the reason that Hades did that is because he's hired Cloud from Final Fantasy VII to fucking murder you.
I mean, he looks like he could do it.
Oh, he definitely... You'll see... I don't think I actually have a screenshot of his sword. His sword is fucking massive.
I guess that's kind of a theme.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Final Fantasy VII, the original game, his sword is also fucking massive. So it's not just a Kingdom Hearts thing. That's just like Cloud's sword. And Final Fantasy VII weapons in general are comically large.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that much about Final Fantasy, but that I know.
And for some reason, in Kingdom Hearts, his sword is wrapped in bandages. I don't know why.
I guess he hurt his sword?
I guess he did. Anyway, when Cloud fails, Hades goes for plan B and releases Cerberus, which actually is kind of the first really cool fight in the game. Because you're now in this arena, but rather than the arena that you've been playing in, which is just like a square, the arena has disappeared, and now you can also walk around on like the benches for the audience.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
While this huge fucking three-headed monster dog is trying to absolutely ruin your day.
That's the three-headed monster dog that if you chop off one head, two more.
No, that's the Hydra. We'll get to that.
Right.
That's a boss in Kingdom Hearts 2. This is just Cerberus. From Greek mythology, which Hydra is also from Greek mythology. So, and that's everything relevant going on in this world, really. Then throughout the game, you come back here sometimes for progressively harder and harder tournaments.
Does look pretty cool, the dog.
Yeah, it's a really cool design. I mean, it's not a design that they came up with themselves. It's a design that is from the Disney movie, and that's then based on mythology itself. But I like the dog.
Yeah.
It's fucking huge. Then, Tarzan.
That's an unfortunate angle.
That is, yes. It's also a pretty low resolution, this screenshot. I'm sorry for that. Again, this world, nothing much relevant happens, but there's a little detail that I want to focus on here. Near the start of the world, we're looking for photo slides around the camp with Jane, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when Sora sees this photo, you can probably read his dialogue here. He says, "This place, it just looks so familiar." Which is kind of strange, because Sora grew up on an island, a tropical island. Why is this weird-ass castle resonating with him so much?
Right. I guess we'll get to that.
We will!
Yay!
Nothing else really happens within this world. Sora and Donald are being a bit of a bitch to each other. They're fighting. And then we fight Mr. Clayton. That's not Clayton. Clayton from the bad guy from Tarzan. Which, I love this. That's the only reason that I'm talking a little bit more about this world. Clayton is known for shooting gorillas.
Mm-hmm. Let me guess, he doesn't use his gun?
No, he does.
Oh.
The guy literally brings a gun to a sword, well, a key fight. Which is just... He's the only character in the entire series that's just like, I have a gun, fuck you.
He's like Indiana Jones.
Exactly. But it's not that useful for him, because apparently Sora is relatively bulletproof because he's a magic boy. And then Clayton gets overtaken by darkness and dies. And he wasn't even part of the main villain cast. He isn't involved with Maleficent and such at all.
He just hates little boys?
He's just kind of there and pissed off at this little boy that makes him not able to shoot gorillas, and that's why he thinks, I should shoot this boy.
I mean, fair enough.
Which, to be fair, he also thought that about Tarzan in the actual movie, so
Yeah.
it's in character. Back in the evil council scene, the baddies are talking about how Sora is slowly becoming a problem to their plan. Something to do with princesses that they're gathering, including Ruffle, Alice, which we saw disappear before.
Yeah, wait, he did that?
Maleficent did that.
Right. So she did that so he couldn't...
We'll see why they are gathering. It should be noted they're specifically stating that they're looking for princesses, and they kidnapped Alice, which is not a princess.
Yeah, fair point.
And little fun thing, Kingdom Hearts 1 does this quite a lot, because the order in which you do the worlds, like there is a canonical order, but you can do them in a different order a lot of the time. And if you don't do Wonderland before you do Deep Jungle, which is the Tarzan world, Alice hasn't been kidnapped yet, and the same cutscene plays, but instead of Alice, you actually see Snow White, which I think is just kind of a neat little Easter egg. Because most people won't see that, but
you haven't interacted with Snow White yet.
Oh, you haven't? You will not in this game.
Oh, right, cool.
But the point is that they're looking for a number of princesses, and they can't show Alice in this cutscene if you haven't met Alice in Wonderland yet. So they actually made a separate version of this cutscene in case you haven't met Alice yet, so that you don't break continuity.
Wait, but so they can show Alice when you haven't seen Alice before, but they can show Snow White when you don't see Snow White at all.
Yeah, she's just kind of like a placeholder.
I mean, that's kind of her whole character.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what we do in the first go around in a couple of Disney worlds. We go around every world, we lock its keyhole, but then we go back to Trevor's Town, where we run into Riku, who has a very, very obvious I'm the bad guy sword now.
And a... Like, has he done a line of sniffy dust? Like, gee.
It's an unfortunate screenshot, I'll admit that. Riku is just kind of a bit of a dumb boy, because he's messing around with this darkness stuff, and then he's got this sword, which is obviously very evil looking.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't think that's too bad of a thing.
And it literally has, like, the blue version of the Eye of Sauron, so...
I am so happy that's the first thing you picked up on. It'll be a while, a great long while, in real time, about 20 years, but that will become relevant.
Right. I guess we'll get to that in about 20 years.
Exactly. So they talk about, well, we found each other now. Where the fuck is Kairi? Because we need the female protagonist without a personality.
Sure, because otherwise why the hell are we doing this?
Exactly. If it's not for a woman, what the fuck are we doing?
Sure.
Interestingly enough, though, when Sora shows off his Keyblade, Riku picks it out of his hand.
Dun dun dun.
And then gives it back, and when Sora is not looking, he just kind of fucks off, because he's a bad guy now, and that's what bad guys do. Disappearing when you're not looking.
He does the Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so far we haven't really seen this yet, but we've gotten obvious pretty evil vibes from Riku. But it's confirmed here, because later when Sora is talking to all his new Final Fantasy friends, we see Riku is chatting with Maleficent!
Uh-oh.
And Maleficent's like, you see this? Sora's hanging out with all these new friends. He doesn't need you anymore. You're kind of useless to him, honestly. You should come with me, because I'm trustworthy.
Sure.
And Riku kind of just goes along with that.
I mean, when you've just been abandoned by, like, I guess your friend, then you go with an old lady that looks like she's evil as fuck. Sure.
Then it's time for more Disney shit.
That Jafar design, yikes.
Jafar doesn't work very well in 3D.
No.
A lot of the 2D animated films you see in Kingdom Hearts 1 have to be 3D because it's a 3D rendered game. I don't know if you remember what the Hercules design looked like. Hercules also looks really weird as a 3D model. It's not great.
Yeah, maybe emotion. In the screenshot, it looked fine, but
I'm just happy that in more modern times, the actual movies are 3D animated.
that makes it a whole lot easier.
That makes it so much easier. And it actually makes it easier to make it look good. Because I'm assuming, for the most part, they can just work off of the models that Disney uses. Maybe simplified versions, because it's to render in real time. But
I mean, you can't have Sully rendering in real time.
no, Sully, in Kingdom Hearts 3, he's a thing. He actually looks pretty good, but a bit spiky.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the one of the only relevant Disney worlds that were left in here is an Agrabah, where Jafar is helping Maleficent finding the keyhole to this world. Because Sora's been going around locking these keyholes so that the Heartless can't get to the heart of the world.
Right.
While these guys aren't Heartless, they still want to like infect the heart of the worlds with darkness because they're evil, and that's what evil people do.
Yeah.
So Jafar is helping Maleficent here look for the keyhole within his own world to destroy his own home.
Because evil.
And one thing that I actually quite like here is usually the Disney and Kingdom Hearts stuff kind of doesn't work together very well. In this world, there's one little detail that actually like mixes the two together, and that's that one of Jafar's wishes, when he gets the genie, is to show him where the keyhole is.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty clever.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't derail the entire movie. But
in the movie, his third wish is to become a genie and stuff, and then
he still does that later. I don't know which wish actually gets replaced. I think the wish to be a powerful sorcerer gets replaced by this one, which altogether wasn't that consequential at all, because 5 minutes later he turns into a genie.
Yeah.
So, of course, Sora comes in right at that moment and beats his fucking shit in the most bullshit RNG fight in the entire game. Jafar can float around the map, and in like 90% of the places that he can be, you can't hit him. And it's entirely RNG based where he moves to.
That sounds like it sucks.
It does. It's, for people speedrunning this game, it's a run killer. It's the worst.
Oh, jeez.
And that's like an hour into the run, so that's painful.
That sucks.
Anyway, so after we beat his ass, he becomes a genie, because that's the most logical next step, I guess. And we beat his genie ass, because why not? Turning into a genie literally did nothing for him.
Right, but turning into a genie, you're tied to the lamp, but you could just put it in the lamp and throw him the fuck away, right?
The boss fight is actually, you can fight him with ice magic, but he's actually outside of your reach. So, in the boss fight of the genie Jafar, what you're doing is you're actually chasing the bird Iago, who's holding the lamp, and you're smacking the shit out of the lamp. And then at the end, indeed, Sora just takes the lamp and locks Jafar in the lamp, and really turning into a genie only made him vulnerable.
Yeah, but I mean that's also the plot of the actual movie, right?
That's very true. So while we are off fighting Genie Jafar, Riku comes in and Princess naps Jasmine, because remember, we're collecting princesses because Maleficent wants to start a merchandise line, I guess. We're collecting merchandisable women. So Riku comes in and Princess naps Jasmine. Brings her over to Evil People HQ, where Riku gets told, like, hey, this girl you've been looking for, we've actually, like, got her here, but she's asleep. And doesn't look like she's waking up anytime soon. She's not dead, but she's not waking up.
That's because of the whole thing, like, he phases through her and right?
It is, but we'll get to that. Because first up, we gotta go to Monstro, where we see a cutscene which flashes back to when Sora and Riku were little kids, about 4-5 years old, something like that. And there they talk about this new girl that has just moved into the neighborhood. I wonder if she has a personality.
Nah.
Let's move on. That's just a really random little like flashback they throw in there for a reason, but it's really jarring that they do it here without any prompts. So then we run around the insides of a giant whale and we run into Riku again, because now the actual plot of Kingdom Hearts starts, which means that we start running into these characters more and more. And Riku has puppet napped Pinocchio, because Pinocchio is inside of Monstro, obviously. Which Monstro is just a giant whale floating around in space/darkness. He's not part of. He's not part of like a bigger world. He didn't end up in Traverse Town, which probably wouldn't fit. He's just like swimming around out there between the worlds.
He's just chilling around and having people walking around inside.
Yeah. So Riku is kidnapped Pinocchio because he sees this is a artificial puppet, but Pinocchio still has a heart. And that intrigues Riku, because Riku is trying to figure out, how do hearts work? How can I restore a heart for something that doesn't have a heart to begin with, like Pinocchio? If Pinocchio can get a heart, maybe something that's lost their heart can also get it back.
Yeah, seems legit.
And then the boss fight shows up and Riku figures, you know what, it's my time to get out of here, because again, Riku is now evil and that's what evil people do. And as a result of this little study trip, Riku gets a special little gift from Maleficent, and that is the power to control the Heartless, which apparently she can just give away to people.
I mean, in this screenshot, it more looks like he's about to get a spanking, but...
he might be, but that's off screen.
That's not Disney.
That's not Disney. That's, there's two moments in this game where people are shirtless.
No.
And I've included both of them in this list. So we learn about Kingdom Hearts here for the first time. It's not name dropped yet, but we can just reveal we're talking about Kingdom Hearts here. And Kingdom Hearts is the heart of all worlds. So it's kind of like a nexus of all the world's hearts, which connects them.
Right, and that's obviously where the bad people are going for.
Exactly, because Kingdom Hearts is a super mega awesome, amazing source of wisdom and, more importantly, power. But you
kind of, dang it, what's his name? The end of
Eternity.
Yeah.
It's honestly, it's pretty similar to Eternity.
Right.
It's like a collection of what the universe is.
The ultimate MacGuffin.
Exactly.
Right.
But you can't just walk up to it and decide, you know what, I'm going to visit Kingdom Hearts. Because in order to get to it, you need 7 princesses of hearts, with hearts of pure light, without any darkness inside of it. And those are the princesses Maleficent has been collecting.
So, I mean, all the princesses in especially the early Disney stories are like mindless MacGuffins anyway, but here they're literally like MacGuffins you need to collect.
Yeah, no, they are literally a set of personality-lacking women, and because they don't have a personality, canonically, they are pure of heart.
Right, because if you don't have a personality, you can't be evil.
Pretty much. And we're going to skip over 2 worlds here, which is funny because one of these worlds, Sora and Kairi is asleep. Still.
Yeah.
Sora is shirtless in one of these worlds, and that's because he's underwater, under the sea, in Atlantica with the Little Mermaid. It's the worst fucking world in the series.
Under the sea. Yeah, sure.
I've got PTSD for that song, but we'll get to that in Kingdom Hearts 2. And then we have Halloween Town for the Nightmare Before Christmas on the right side here, which we actually get pretty cool costumes for the entire gang.
I mean, Donald looks like he wants to be there. Goofy and Sora just look like, what the hell is this?
It's kind of weird. The entire world also has kind of like a grainy filter on it, so all the Heartless look way more detailed here as well. It's actually kind of cool, but it also breaks the style of the game quite heavily. Most of the worlds up until now, even though the original art styles for the movies were pretty different, there was a certain amount of consistency. The Nightmare Before Christmas absolutely throws that out of the window, which is why I love it, but it's also kind of weird.
I mean, that's also what the movie does, so...
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So yeah, we go swimming without a shirt, and you can see he has like a mermaid tail. You can't really see it that well, but the blue at the bottom of that image
is
his mermaid tail, because in that world you get transformed into a mermaid. Goofy becomes a sea turtle, and Donald becomes an octopus for some reason.
Donald is already not a sea creature, but a water creature.
Yeah, now there's probably better things for Donald to be while being underwater than an octopus.
He already is a duck.
Well, ducks can't live underwater, though.
Well, not underwater.
These worlds are of zero relevance to the entire plot, other than the fact that I should point out that Ariel specifically is not a princess of heart. She's not pure of light.
Well, she does collude with the bad guy in the film, so...
Yeah,
I guess.
This world has no reason to exist. Because you assume, Ariel is going to be one of them, and then you meet her, and then she's not.
Right.
And then you go to The Nightmare Before Christmas, and the entire Kingdom Hearts plot just pauses. Nothing happens. You kill Oogie Boogie, who's part of the evil people council. Has no consequence whatsoever.
Yeah, there's no princesses over there, so...
There is a little bit of interesting stuff in modern context, and that is that in the world for Halloween Town is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
They are trying to make a custom heart, a synthetic heart.
And it, Frankenstein heart.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's thematically what they're going for there, which is not mega relevant for a lore perspective going forward, but it's something to maybe keep in mind. Then we get to the last Disney World on the list, which is Neverland with Peter Pan. So before we can get to the final Disney World on the map, this is the gummy ship, by the way, you're seeing here on the bottom of the screen.
Right. That looks like it was put together by a 5-year-old.
It does. It's... Honestly, this could be rendered on a PlayStation 1 if you wanted to, instead of a PlayStation 2. But the gummy ship gets...
On a Commodore... This could be rendered on a Commodore 64.
True. But we get intercepted by a huge-ass boat, because out in space, darkness, whatever it is, we don't only have gigantic whales, we also just have flying boats. And this is not just a random boat, this is Captain Hook's ship. And this world is kind of the prelude to the home stretch of the game. We're building up to the climax slowly but surely here. And we see Riku fully working with the Heartless now. He's got control over the Heartless, and Sora is not about it. And I included an extra slide here. Sora literally says, "You're stupid."
I mean, fair enough.
I'm working with the Heartless now. I have power over them. You're stupid.
Yeah.
Which I just love. I just love. There's a couple of moments in this series where the characters just kind of it's not really breaking the fourth wall, but they step kind of out of character and just say something really fucking badass almost. We're getting ahead a little bit here, and maybe I shouldn't spoil this bit, but it's not relevant for the plot right now, but it's funny. In Kingdom Hearts 3, there's a moment where Woody, in the Toy Story world, literally says to the bad guy, "I bet nobody's ever loved you before."
Ouch.
There's sometimes just moments like that which are fucking fantastic. They're really fucking... That's what happens when you mix Final Fantasy, somebody who's clearly on drugs 24/7, and Disney.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, nothing much important happens in this world other than the fact that we run into Riku and really see, he's kind of a bad dude now.
Oh no.
And he's stupid.
Oh no, he's evil. Whoever could have thought?
Also, Sora learns to fly,
Oh, cool.
but only in this world.
Right.
Because otherwise the entirety of the rest of the game would probably break apart. So you can fly around on this boat.
Yeah,
Which-
because Peter Pan and stuff. Yeah.
Because Peter Pan and the maps in this world are not very good for flying around. There's the outside of the ship, which you see right here, and then there's also a map which is just like Big Ben in the middle of London, which means that London exists in the Kingdom Hearts universe. Don't think about it.
Sure.
And those are the only two maps that are really good for flying around, because the rest of this world is like just tight corridors and the inside of the ship, so it's a really bad mechanic actually.
Wait, who are the dudes with X's on their face?
Oh, those are some more heartless.
Oh, right.
Most we have those little like ant-looking dudes. Those are the most basic version of the heartless. And then there's a bunch of different kinds of heartless in every single world that are themed around this world. So here we have heartless that look like pirates because we're on a pirate ship, and in Agrabah we have pirates that look like bandits because we have like the whole Agrabah, 40 bandits theme thing going on.
Because if you're a mindless, heartless bad guy, I mean, you gotta look
you
fat.
gotta fit in.
Yeah,
you
sure.
gotta fit in, right? You're trying to murder everybody, so you gotta fit in.
Sure.
So nothing too much else happens here except Sora learns to fly, which is a reason for the final boss to be able to happen, because in the final boss you have a section where you fly. That's it.
Right.
So we go back to Traverse Town, because this is where all the plot happens. And while Sora's waiting for a bit of upgrades to his gummy ship, because he needs an upgrade to go to the Lost Worlds, he gets a flashback to Kairi's childhood.
Right.
Yeah. And you might note that this does not look like a place that would be on a tropical island.
No.
Because...
But that, and with the picture from Tarzan that looked familiar and stuff. Right.
Kairi is not from Destiny Islands. Kairi is from a place with a mean-looking castle.
And a nice looking grandma.
And a nice-looking grandma who's telling her a story that most people, while playing this game initially, skipped over, but which is absolutely fucking vital. So I'm going to recap it real quick. So, a long time ago, the world was filled with pure light. But people kind of liked the light a little too much and wanted them all for themselves. So, they started fighting over ownership of the light. And that is what caused darkness to have a place to grow. Because people were angry. Angry is bad emotion. Bad emotion means darkness can get a hold of you.
Right.
And as everybody was slowly being overtaken by darkness, the entire world was engulfed in darkness. But not entirely destroyed, because there was still light within the hearts of children, and that protected the world from being utterly destroyed. But the true light that we were fighting over to begin with is still lost inside of the darkness. So that is what's caused the world to split up into many different worlds. So to begin with, there was only one gigantic Pangea world.
Right.
And everybody fighting over ownership of the light is what causes the world to split up. Luckily, pretty good with the borders of art style still intact. Lucky how that works out.
Yeah.
And that's how still things are today. The worlds are split up because of what happened a long, long time ago with people fighting over the light.
So basically, capitalism ruined the world.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like real life.
Yeah. So this was just a fun little fairy tale in the first game. This doesn't get revisited until like 20... This was 2002. This doesn't get revisited for a lore perspective until like 2014.
Jeez, I thought the MCU was bad, but...
Yeah, no, it's real up its ass. This was also not planned when this was initially written.
I mean, yeah.
But it is important to note that it's important so that you might remember it when we get back to this in some time.
Right.
I actually made a note. Remember this because this is a very important in about 15 years' time. So that's when we get to Hollow Bastion, which you might be able to see through the title card of the world is the castle from the picture in the Tarzan world.
I would not have recognized that, but sure.
I don't know if it's supposed to be the same castle actually, or just look like it. That's never really specified, but this is the reason that that Sora felt that, because this is where Kairi is originally from. This is Kairi's homeworld,
right.
Hollow Bastion. And right as we arrive, the Beast, that's the wrong key, the Beast from Beauty and the Beast is hanging out here, and he's having a bit of an argument with who else but Riku, because this is the evil people place, so Riku is here.
Sure.
And the Beast thinks, you know what, you took my girlfriend, you took Belle, because Belle is apparently also a princess, and I want her back. And Riku thinks, okay, yeah, I understand. I'm considering your feelings, but fuck you. So he hits him with his evil-looking sword. The Beast doesn't like that, and that's where Sora steps in. But Riku, he's gotten a bit more powerful since the last time we saw him. So he does a thing, and he fucking steals your Keyblade.
Well, dang it.
And tells you, you know what? You had fun with the Keyblade, but it was actually supposed to be mine. It was never supposed to be yours. The only reason that I didn't get it is because I fell to darkness, so I couldn't wield it. So it went to the next best person. That was you, Sora. Why he can now wield it, even though he's still using darkness, unclear.
Who knows? Who cares?
Presumably just because he's now strong enough to compensate for using the darkness, so the Keyblade, like, he can bend it to his will or something. I don't know. It's never explained. There's multiple darkness users in this series that end up using Keyblades. It doesn't make any sense.
Stuff and reasons.
Exactly. But you might remember that Donald and Goofy's mission wasn't go find Sora. Donald and Goofy's mission was go find the Keyblade.
Right.
So they just leave Sora.
You bastard.
And as you can see in this picture, Riku gives him back his wooden sword from the start of the game. Which is such a good insult.
Absolutely useless.
But this leaves you in a world filled with Heartless and darkness, with no weapon to defend against it, but you team up with the Beast because you both hate Riku now, and you know what? The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, sure.
So you make your way slowly up to the castle in a very painstaking way, because you can literally not harm any of the enemies. You have to hide behind the Beast, who will just smack them around. But then, when you get up to the castle, Riku's had a bit of a change of clothes.
Jeez.
Because he figured, you know what, if I'm evil, I probably should look it.
I mean, yeah, that worked.
Should be noted that the thing on his chest, that symbol you see there, we haven't seen that before because I haven't shown a lot of Heartless designs. That is the symbol of the Heartless.
I mean, it's literally a hole in the shape of an heart. I gathered that, yeah.
And Sora gives a speech about friendship, and his friends are his power, and that's what makes him special. And the Keyblade thinks, you know what? That's a really fucking good speech. I'm gonna go back to Sora.
Wow.
And this is one of the screenshots where you can see he's holding a different Keyblade.
Right.
It's just a different keychain, but I figure I should point out because I made a point out of that before.
Yep.
Afterwards, Riku runs into Mr. Burlap Sack, which we ran into at the beginning of the game. Remember him being all cryptic in the island?
Yep.
He's in Hollow Bastion now. And Riku...
What now?
Yeah, he somehow came to you with Riku or something to Hollow Bastion, and he's like, you know, Riku, the reason you lost to Sora, didn't use enough darkness. You should be opening up way more to the darkness. You're still holding back. You shouldn't do that.
Of course.
Even though every single villain that we've seen die up until now, Maleficent has commented like, yeah, they went too deep into the darkness. You should really like keep control over it and not just dive headlong in. So this doesn't bode well for Riku.
I mean, he's what, like 15, 16 years old?
He's 15.
15. Anything you do at that age, you either don't do it enough or you do way too much.
And he goes from doing it a little too much to doing way too much, because the next time we see him, he's permanently in his edgelord outfit. And he's also got a double voice, which is universal anime speak for this guy is now possessed.
Right.
Well, it's not specifically anime speak, it's cinematic in general, but anime really likes doing that. So Riku is now possessed, and as you can see, he's got a new Keyblade. And it fits his style way better than Sora's Keyblade.
Looking nicely evil.
It looks evil, it looks edgy, it looks exactly like something a 15-year-old would make. And now we have the long-awaited face-off against the leader of the bad guys, Maleficent, which you actually beat pretty easily. But that's not it, because then she gets stabbed with Riku's new Keyblade. It's explained that this Keyblade has the power to unlock people's hearts. And what does that mean? It means a bunch of things that do not get explained. But in this case, what does that mean? It means turning Maleficent into her dragon form.
Right. I mean,
reasons.
Unlocking right. If unlocking the heart of a world makes it vulnerable to be taken over by the darkness, unlocking someone's heart should make them vulnerable to be taken over by the darkness, like fully.
That's kind of what we're going for here. And since Maleficent pulls her power from the darkness, it makes her more powerful and able to transform into the dragon form.
Right.
But then in a prequel game, you also fight Maleficent in her dragon form.
At that point, she just chooses to be the dragon, and now she's kind of forced to? I
guess that's it. That's the best explanation I've got for you, so you got that pretty right. The other thing that this Keyblade can do is set the heart free from a body.
Right. So then you're just like a floating soul?
Yeah. And that is going to be relevant in the second here for Sora, but it's also going to be relevant for Maleficent in a long, long while. So you, of course, kill Dragon Maleficent, and then we didn't think she was going to be the final boss, right?
That would be too easy.
So we then fight Riku,
of course,
possessed by, now revealed to be Ansem,
the cloak dude.
The cloak dude, which was the researcher that we've been gathering his papers throughout this game. Every time you beat a boss fight, you get one of his reports.
Right.
That guy that was researching the hearts was the guy in the cloak, and is now possessing Riku.
Right. He did too much research and thought this is pretty cool. That whole darkness thing, and then
whole darkness thing, and then he turned himself into a burlap sack dude, and then he possessed Riku because. I don't know if this is explained in this game or way later. I'm going to drop it here on you. When he's in the burlap sack, there's no body in there. That's just a heart. That's just Ansem's heart.
Right. That's the whole floating heart thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's a separated heart, which is now enters into Riku to take control over Riku with his Keyblade and stuff.
Right.
It's also revealed that Kairi is the final Princess of Hearts, the final personalityless girl.
Because of course.
Because she doesn't have a personality, so of course she's pure of heart.
Yeah.
And that is kind of a problem, because after you beat Riku up, Kairi still doesn't have a heart, because Kairi's heart is inside of Sora.
Ew.
You have no idea. The literal Sora's literal line after he hears about the fact that Kairi's heart is inside of his heart, he literally says, "Kairi is inside me."
Right.
Someone should have read that script for sure.
Yeah.
Sora thinks, okay, I've got Kairi's heart inside me. Kairi can't wake up without a heart. And what's worse is we've got this this contraption, which I don't have a screenshot for because it wasn't that relevant. I think you can see it in the background here. Which is trying to open a pathway to Kingdom Hearts using the princesses.
Right. Because you gotta have a big evil looking device thingy to sacrifice your princesses.
Exactly, and the 6 of the hearts have already been like activated with this, but since Kairi doesn't have her own heart, it's called the final keyhole. It can't be fully opened, and if it's not fully opened, Sora can't close it either, which that's not how doors work.
No.
But that's how this works apparently. So Sora needs to free Kairi's heart. One, because like it's Kairi. It's the personality lacking love interest, so of course we want to help her. And 2, as long as that heart is inside him, darkness will keep leaking out because they can't close this keyhole.
Sure.
Then we remember, wait a second, this pointy, evil-looking Keyblade has the power to unlock hearts, doesn't it?
Ta-da!
So Sora stabs himself to death.
Yeah. I mean, yep, sure. Good plan.
Which does do what you think it would do. It releases Sora's and Kairi's heart. Kairi's heart goes back into her body. And Sora turns into, not him, into a Heartless.
No.
But as that happens, what we just saw, this guy, this is Ansem, which now apparently has a body again.
Sure. I mean,
for reasons.
Did he just lose it and was like, oh, that's where I left it?
I guess he possessed Riku because he didn't have a body. Then Riku got beaten, and now he has a body again.
Right. Sure.
Presumably, this is just Riku's body morphed to look like Ansem.
Just more ripped and more bigger.
Which does lead me to something that we'll talk about a little bit later more. But bodies tend to display what the heart wants it to look like. So a body in Kingdom Hearts is kind of like a blank slate. And then when a heart goes into it, that's when it gets like facial features and is recognizable as a person.
Right.
Unless you're Kairi in this game, because her heart is gone and we still see her as Kairi and not a blank slate. Which honestly, the difference isn't that big.
If her heart is gone, then shouldn't she just be heartless then?
No, that's...
Oh, wait.
We'll get to that.
Wait. Right, we talked about that. The fact that the heartless doesn't mean the fact that you're not have a heart. Yeah. Anyway,
there's also the fact that heartless are created from the darkness within your heart, and Kairi doesn't have any darkness.
Right.
So even though her heart was taken away from her body, she couldn't turn into a heartless even if she wanted to.
Because there's no darkness to... Yeah, alright.
Exactly. Sora stabs himself, Ansem comes back, Sora becomes a Heartless. But only for a minute, because when Kairi hugs him, he turns back.
Sure, because a kiss would be too obvious.
Yeah, no, that's... Also, that would be... Well, I guess the Princess and the Frog kind of did that, but kissing that little, like, ant dude would be a bit weird.
Nasty.
But yeah, this is never elaborated on. Even on the wiki, which the Kingdom Hearts wiki is very in-depth, because... people have no life.
Right.
Even on the wiki, it says somehow she turns him back into a human. Nobody knows what happens here.
It's the power of love.
That's the power of love and the power of her being a pure princess of light.
Right. I mean, it's kind of a standard trope. Just it's either a kiss or a hug or a tear falling on someone or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just. Friendship magic is what it is. After we turn back into Sora, we get the fuck out of Hollow Bastion because it's being overrun by Heartless, and we drop Kairi off in Traverse Town because that's a safe place to be.
Right.
Where she gives us this good luck charm.
That kind of looks like the fruit thingy we saw in the beginning.
That's the symbolism I was talking about.
Right.
This shape comes back an awful lot and represents connections and friendships and stuff like that. Funny thing is, this is a good luck charm that Kairi gives you because you're off to save the world and you're like, Kairi, you're not coming with me because this is dangerous shit and I've got a gigantic key and you have no personality. So I'm going alone.
Yeah, fair enough.
And she gives you this, but this also works as a keychain. So you get a Keyblade after this cutscene. And when you equip that, you actually see this charm as it's... I think that's just kind of cute. Now we get into the end of the game. We go back to Hollow Bastion. I don't have any screenshots for that because nothing relevant happens. We fight a very underwhelming extra boss fight. We actually go to close the keyhole because we didn't do that before. Because we were fucking heartless. Anyway, so we get to the last world of the game, which is called, you're not gonna like this, The End of the World.
Very original.
Yeah, it's the world names for the final worlds of every game are always very, very dumb. The End of the World is probably one of the better ones, honestly.
I mean, it's not called the end of the game. There's some thought to it, put into it, but not much.
Well, there's a little more thought into it than you might think at first, because the End of the World is this game's version of where all the worlds that get destroyed end up. So it's one big amalgamation of all the destroyed worlds and bits and pieces of them meshed together.
Right.
So what you can see here is like a lot of like darkness stuff. This is pretty much like the Dark World entrance. And
It's the garbage chute from the Dark World.
pretty much, yeah.
Right.
And while we're running around there, we see a part of Hollow Bastion that we haven't seen before. And that's this machine.
Looks interesting.
Wouldn't you like to know more about it?
Sure.
You gotta wait 20 years.
God damn it.
Next, we fight Ansem. And we fight Ansem in like 5 different forms, one of which is a gigantic boat.
What? That I mean, that's not. That does look like a boat. And how the fuck does a dude turn into a boat?
Well, you can see him very small up at the top there.
Right.
And he's, through some kind of like darkness cables, he's connected to this, I believe it's called the World of Chaos, which is a giant heartless that looks kind of like a boat.
Right. Fitting name, yeah.
And we beat him up like 5 different times in 5 different battles, which doesn't get tiresome at all.
Sure.
And after all that, finally, you know what shows up?
Some princesses?
The big ass fucking door to Kingdom Hearts!
There's the big ass door.
And Ansem, being near to death because we've beaten him 5 times with a gigantic key,
Right.
thinks, that's Kingdom Hearts. Dude, please, give me the power of darkness. I need that dark juice. I need the darkness.
Just give me one more shot. I'm not addicted.
Exactly.
Just give me one more shot.
I just need the darkness. I feel things for the darkness. But Sora, through like no reason whatsoever, goes, you know what? Kingdom Hearts isn't darkness. Kingdom Hearts is light. And it just so happens that he's correct and the light kills Ansem.
Well, isn't that convenient?
Exactly. But now we've got this huge ass door, which Kingdom Hearts is light, but there's darkness seeping out of it. Because even within one scene, Nomura can't keep a consistent thing going on. What's happening here is this isn't Kingdom Hearts itself. This is the door to where Kingdom Hearts is located, which is in the deepest depths of darkness.
Yeah. Alright. Yeah, sure. Makes sense.
So now that the door is open, the darkness is seeping out. And Riku is on the other side, because when Ansem took him over, he got yeeted into the Dark World.
Right, so that's the good version, sort of.
This is the Riku that still made a lot of bad decisions, but kind of feels bad for it,
Right.
and is ready to have himself locked up in the realm of darkness to help shut this door. You know who else is here?
Mickey?
Mickey fucking Mouse, but without his shirt. This is the second shirtless scene. And the reason I point that out is that this is relevant. Not now. I'm not going to elaborate on it until we get to it, but this is relevant.
Right.
Remember, if nothing else from today's entire session, that fucking machine that I don't elaborate on, and the fact that Mickey didn't have a shirt.
Right, alright.
And then we have all the worlds are restored back to normal, and the credits roll. But there's more! There's the Ansem reports that we've been collecting, which there's 13 of them. We're going to go through them really, really quick, because there is some important information in them. I don't have screenshots for them.
Wait, hold up. So, the not evil anymore dude locks himself up to save the world, but Mickey does get out?
No, Mickey is locked in with him there as well.
Oh, alright. So he's just like, "No, I'm not gonna be king anymore, fuck that shit."
Yeah, and that's what the next couple of games are about, is looking for Riku and the king, which you've been doing in this game as well, but now you know they're probably in trouble.
Right.
Because they are literally in the Kingdom Hearts equivalent of hell.
Okay.
Not to be confused with the Underworld, which does exist in Olympus Coliseum.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Anyway, we've got 13 Ansem reports. This is the research that Ansem, the main bad guy of this game, which was the researcher, has been collecting.
Right.
So we're going to go through them real quick. Not all of them are very relevant, so we'll skim over them a bit. Ansem Report 1. Much of my life has been dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge. That knowledge has guarded this world well. Not a soul doubts that. I am blessed with people's smiles and respects. But though now I am called a sage, there are things that I do not understand. I believe darkness sleeps in every heart, no matter how pure. This is just objectively wrong because we know the Princess of Heart.
Yeah. But hey, it's research, so you can make mistakes in research.
He needs to figure that out, still,
right.
I suppose. Given the chance, the smallest drop can spread and swallow a heart. I have witnessed this many times. Darkness. Darkness of the heart. How is it born? How does it come to affect us? As the ruler of this world, sounds like a good guy, I must find the answers. I must find them.
He's the ruler of the world?
He's the ruler of the world, his own world.
Right. Check.
Originally from Holobastion, he was the ruler of that world before it fell to darkness. So he must find answers.
Wait,
must find them. Yeah.
Wait. He's the ruler of Holobastion. The characterless girl was from there, grown up in a big old castle. Is she his daughter?
No. Not as far as we know.
All right. Just checking.
No, he is the ruler of Holobastion. I should also mention, I kind of skimmed over this because it isn't that important. The Disney characters that we saw in Holobastion, because that's where all the evil council scenes took place.
Right.
They're not from Holobastion. That's just a place they've decided to gather around because there's a lot of darkness there.
Right.
The Final Fantasy characters, however, are originally from Holobastion.
Like all of them?
Pretty much all of them.
Okay.
I skimmed over it because it isn't that important. Never really comes back up. But Holobastion was a normal world before it was evil Dark Place HQ.
Right.
And it was ruled over by Ansem. So I must find these answers before the world is lost to those taken by the darkness. Ansem Report 2. It is my duty to expose what the darkness really is. I shall conduct the following experiments. Extract the darkness from a person's heart. Cultivate darkness in a pure heart. Both suppress and amplify the darkness within. Not a bad idea at all.
Yeah, it sucks for the person you're experimenting on, but as an experiment, yeah, sure.
Which I should mention, I don't know if that's said in this report, the people he's experimenting on are children.
God damn it, you bastard.
Because why not? The experiments caused the test subjects' hearts to collapse, including those most stalwart. How frail our hearts are. My treatment produced no signs of recovery. I confined those who had completely lost their hearts beneath the castle. Sometime later, I went below and was greeted by a strange sight. Creatures that seemed to be born of darkness. What are they? Are they truly sentient beings? They could be the shadows of those who lost their hearts in my experiments. That's the first Heartless.
So he created the first Heartless? Or...
Yes and no. That's the first time we hear and learn about Heartless. Heartless are a naturally occurring phenomenon as well, but in much lower numbers than we see in the games.
Right, okay.
Ansem's Report 3. Shadows that crawl beneath the castle. Are they the people who lost their hearts? Or incarnations of the darkness? Or something entirely beyond my imagination? All this knowledge has provided no answers. One thing that I'm sure of is that they are entirely devoid of emotion. Perhaps further study will unlock the mysteries of the heart. Fortunately, there's no shortage of test samples. I forgot about that line.
Yikes. I mean, I don't want to get this shit demonetized, but he kind of sounds like some people from a few decades ago from our neighboring country. Yikes.
Yeah, he's kind of a Nazi.
Yeah.
They are multiplying underground even as I write this report. Okay, so their subjects, he's referring to the Heartless themselves, not the people that he turned into Heartless.
Right.
Okay.
So the Heartless are like single-celled organisms just splitting up and going along.
I guess so.
Useful.
They still need a name. Those who lack hearts, I will call them Heartless, which, again, is objectively wrong, because they are not those who lack hearts. They are what remains of someone's heart once they fall to darkness.
Yeah, but like...
He doesn't know that.
Yeah, and that happens a lot in scientific research, that something gets a name, and then after that someone discovers that name does not make sense, but hey, we've been using it for so many years, so it's stuck.
Exactly, but it gets worse. I think in report 12 or 13, it gets worse. So, and in report number 4, we're getting through these relatively quickly. The Heartless appear in groups. They are multiplying rapidly. I've provided them both living and non-living samples. He's literally letting them eat people.
God damn it.
They've responded only to the living. They seem to be multiplying after absorbing something of the living creatures. Their prey vanishes without a trace. I believe the Heartless are taking hearts. They are born from those who have lost their hearts, and thrive on the hearts seized from others. The hearts taken by the Heartless become Heartless themselves. That's how they multiply. Though I lack proof, I am confident in this hypothesis. I must also study their behavioral principles.
That's not how science works. God damn it.
Nope. Science in Kingdom Hearts. Oh, you're gonna love it when we get to computer and data worlds.
Oh god.
That's not in this game. We'll get to that, but it's so stupid. Though they lack emotions, they still do have some sign of intelligence. How do they communicate? It just occurs to me. Could they be the darkness in people's hearts? So he named them, and then he figured, you know what, actually, maybe I have a better idea, but I'm not going to change their name. Just like you said.
Yeah, and at this point, he's the only one doing this research, so it's not like everyone is using that name and it just stuck. It's just him being stubborn.
He's got some apprentices that he's working with, but it's like a really small group that would be flexible enough to change the name if they really wanted to. Answer report 5. To study the Heartless behavior, I picked out one for observation. It wiggles its antenna and, as if sensing the target, headed deep into the castle. In the deepest part of the castle, its antenna began vibrating, as if searching for something. Suddenly, a strange door appeared. I'd never known of its existence. It had a large keyhole, but it didn't seem to be locked, so I opened the door. What I saw on the other side mystified me. What was this powerful mass of energy? That night, I observed great meteor showers in the sky. Could it be related to the door that I opened?
So he found the heart of his world?
Yeah, the Heartless was looking for it, because that's what Heartless do. Mm-hmm. And he followed it, and he found the heart of his world. But because he opened the door, then some stuff is going on with the meteor showers.
Right, so the Heartless could get in, and then his world is fucked.
Exactly, and that's what leads to Holobastion being the way that it is, right. As we see it. So answer report 6 goes on with that, and that is a massive core of energy lay beyond the doors sought by the Heartless. It may be the ultimate goal of the Heartless, but what is this energy? I have devised a hypothesis, because I am a scientist guy and I use that word. Based upon my observations of the Heartless feed on other hearts, and they yearn for that energy core. That thing beyond the door must be a heart too, the heart of this world. There is no proof. I am a scientist, so I don't need it.
It's still an hypothesis, so in that case, it's fine. But
fair enough. He's bad at science. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
There's no proof, but having felt that immense energy, I am certain that was the heart of the world. The Heartless are trying to take the hearts not only from living creatures, but from the planet itself. But what do they mean when they mean the heart of the world? Answer Report 7. I am studying the material from the meteor showers that rained down on that fateful night. What I find is the material is foreign to our world. It's elastic to the touch, and when two pieces are combined, they bond easily.
Right, it's a meteor. Of course, it's fucking foreign to your world.
That is very true. But the funny thing is, we'll get to that in like one or two reports. It's technically not foreign to his world, but he just hasn't seen it before.
Right.
So when two pieces are combined, they bond easily. None of the records even mention such a substance. Was it introduced to this world when I opened the door? I wonder how many of such materials drift through the atmosphere in this tiny world. I wish I could soar off and find out. Could there be uncharted worlds out there? My curiosity never ceases to grow, but I should stop speaking of such unrealistic dreams. For now, there's no way to venture outside of this world. My people and I are all the prisoners in this tiny place. Report number 8. There is no doubt that the Heartless are deeply connected to the people's hearts. Further study may unravel both their motivations and the mysteries shrouding the heart. As a start, I have built a device that can artificially create Heartless. By recreating the condition that they spawn in around here naturally, I should be able to produce them artificially. This device is the culmination of all my research thus far. The machine's tests run successfully, creating a Heartless. This may be a step toward...
He made a Frankenstein machine.
Yeah, he made a machine that can create artificial Heartless. So he doesn't need to sacrifice anybody's heart to create a Heartless to make these. These are purely artificial beings of darkness.
Progression.
That are branded with that sign. That sign that you saw on Riku's chest before.
Right.
All the synthetic Heartless that are made by Ansem have that on them. And all the pure black Heartless, like the shadow thing that we saw before. There's a couple more of them throughout the game. Those are naturally occurring ones.
Right.
It's not that important of a distinction, but it does get mentioned. This may be a step toward creating a heart out of nothing. The artificially and naturally created Heartless showed nearly identical traits, but two types remain distinct for the purposes of the experiment. So I will mark the ones I created artificially, but with that sign. Which I should point out, by the way, I kind of skipped over that as well. Ansem also has that sign on his chest.
Yeah. So...
We're just going to move past that for now.
Yeah.
As of this moment in time, you can interpret that one of two ways. You can just assume, oh, that's his like emblem, and that's why he put it on the Heartless. Or you can jump to conclusions.
Right.
Which might not be necessarily wrong.
But we'll get to that.
We'll get there, eventually. In Kingdom Hearts 2. Which is the third game. Answer Report 9. We're getting there. We're almost done. Simply astonishing. Today I had a guest from another world. He is a king, and his vessel was built out of the material that composed the meteors. He called them gummy blocks. It seemed that by opening the door, that has opened a path to travel between worlds. We talked for countless hours, but one story particularly caught my interest. That of a key called the Keyblade. The Keyblade is said to hold phenomenal power. One legend says its wielder saved the world, while another says it wrought chaos and ruin upon it. I must know what this Keyblade is, a key that opens doors. It must be connected to the door that I have opened. It's kind of not.
I mean, sort of.
It's sort of, it can lock it.
I mean, it's not like the key is connected to that door, but it's just like this key is connected to all doors, so...
In the royal sense, it's connected to this door, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
Report number 10. Just as peoples have hearts, so do worlds. And the same can be said of the stars in the night sky. And deep within each world lies the door to its heart. So this is just a really clunky way of saying that the stars are different worlds.
Really clunky, yeah.
Yeah. The Heartless desire those hearts. Born out of the darkness of people's hearts, they seek to return to a greater heart. Yes, that's it. The Heartless come from people's hearts. As does the darkness. Is the core of the world's heart the world of the Heartless. So he wonders, is that where they live?
Right.
I will pursue the answer and become all-knowing. My path is set. I shall seek out the wielder of the Keyblade and the princesses. My body is too...
That's always a good sign when someone says, I'm gonna be all-knowing.
Exactly. And immediately after that, I was gonna say, I'm gonna look for some women.
Because that's where the knowledge is.
Exactly. Well, they don't have a personality, so...
Yeah, maybe they have knowledge then.
My body is too frail for such a journey, but I must do this. I will cast off and plunge into the depths of darkness, which is why he didn't have a body until he possessed Riku.
But he just was like, my body is too weak for this, fuck this shit.
Yeah. And he somehow managed to release his heart from his body, but we've only seen Keyblade being able to do that, so how did he do that?
No.
We must wonder, because that's gonna be way in the future when we find out. Answer Report 11. Opening the door to the world's heart caused its walls to crumble. These fragments are seen as shooting stars. This explains why these gummy blocks can travel freely between the worlds. I know the catalysts of the collapse, the appearance of the Heartless. However, I will take time to research out the world's doors and retrieve each heart. Furthermore, the door can be locked by using the Keyblade, making the heart forever unattainable. I must take action before the wielder of this key appears in this world. If the princesses and the key are connected, they should resonate. I have chosen a girl. I don't know if she holds the princess's powers, but I will find out. She may lead me to the key bearer. I shall set her free and observe.
Right, and that's where our characterless...
piece of white bread. Yeah.
Yeah.
that is Kairi. So that's when Kairi gets sent away from Hollow Bastion and eventually ends up at the Destiny Islands. Because that's where the Keyblade's chosen one, Riku / Sora. Yeah. Ansem Report 12. The body is gone, but somehow I'm still writing this. The heart should have returned to the Heartless. And yet, nothing. This one is unlike any other. Its memories remain, and yet it has taken the form of a Heartless. A close eye must be kept on the situation. Much is still unknown. To get to the realm of darkness, one must go through the doors of Kingdom Hearts, the place where the world's hearts connect. Beyond this world is a place in which darkness resides. Details shall be achieved in a separate report, which is really annoying because there's a report 12 out of 13, and 13 is not about that.
Well, dang.
There are many worlds in existence, some of which we have no knowledge about. The world which we live in, the realm of darkness, the realm of light, and the world between the two. Wherein lies true nirvana. I forgot that it mentions nirvana. You can forget nirvana. That's just phrasing. That's not an actual thing. But the point here is that there's like 3 dimensions. The realm of light, in which all the worlds that we visited live. The realm of darkness, which is where worlds end up when they fall to darkness. And the realm in between, which is kind of like the limbo between those two. The grey area.
Right. The space, like, thingy.
Pretty much, yeah. Answer Report 13. The last one for this game. Where does the body go when it separates from the heart? And now we get to it. If the soul remains within the body, it is still considered to be deceased. When the heart returns to the Heartless, the physical form disappears. But that is merely true in this world. Perhaps the body exists in another form in another world. If that is the case, then it is possible to exist in 2 worlds. A being that is neither light nor darkness, belonging nowhere, abandoned by its heart, a mere shell of its former self. The relation between the heart and the body is complex. However, I am certain if your self exists here, then by definition, the other cannot truly exist. The other one, the one that shall not exist, shall be dubbed a nobody.
Wait.
So to recap what that says, because that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So the when someone becomes a Heartless, they like split in 2. You get the physical form of the Heartless, and then the nobody form.
Yeah, that's
But
pretty much what that says.
But the nobody form is the original form of a person that turned.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm so glad you got all that through this cryptic report, because it's not explained well whatsoever.
No, not at all.
In short, what that means is that when a heart and a body are separated, the heart will turn into a heartless, and the body will turn into a nobody.
Right, so the nobody is the body.
Exactly, and that's why I said the whole heartless naming thing gets a lot stupider.
This guy is very bad at naming things.
Because the heartless is this thing that doesn't have a body, and the nobody is the thing that doesn't have a heart.
God damn it.
To be fair, the whole nobody thing didn't really become a thing until Kingdom Hearts 2. This Ansem report was added later in the HD remake, the last one.
Right.
So it wasn't like they were writing this in one go and said, yeah, that makes sense. This is retroactively trying to make it make sense.
Which makes it make less sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They should have just left this report out.
Yeah.
And that's Kingdom Hearts 1.
Well, that's a mess.
Questions?
So many. But I guess we'll get to those in the next games. Or not.
And that's the end of Kingdom Hearts 1. The first out of, I think, 13 by the time we finish this entire thing, maybe 14 games. So next time, what game do you think we're going to discuss? Not Kingdom Hearts 2, you know that.
Yeah. Wait, I think you mentioned Kingdom Hearts 3 was the second one?
No. Kingdom Hearts 3 is the 13th one.
Oh,
or the 12th one.
Sure.
I'll get. The next game we're going to be talking about is a game that was released, I think, about a year after the initial release of Kingdom Hearts 1, which was on the PlayStation 2. And then they made a sequel to that called Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, which was on the Game Boy Advance. A totally separate console by a totally different company.
So, right, that they did the MCU thing of you now to really follow the storyline you gotta buy another thing or get another thing, and yeah.
Yeah, they did that, and up until Kingdom Hearts 3, there's been games on the PlayStation 2, the GBA, the Nintendo DS, the PSP, and the 3DS. And the PlayStation 3, actually.
That's a whole lot of console buying just to follow one franchise.
Exactly. Nowadays, all of those are consolidated into ports for the PlayStation 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
So you can all place, they're all on one disc now, up until Kingdom Hearts 3, luckily. But yeah. So
that should be fun, playing a Game Boy Advance game on PS5.
No, it's a remake. It's a remake.
Ah, okay.
it's still a bad game, but it's a remake. So it's 3D rendered and stuff like that.
Right.
Next time, Chain of Memories, and that's where things really start taking off, because this was just an experiment. From Chain of Memories onwards, they knew we've got a series, so we're gonna go wild.
Wait, then we're gonna go wild?
Yeah, see you then.